Welcome back to The Man That Can with Lockie Stuart. Today, this one is one that people have been DMing me a lot about, and I've just been saying, hold out, hold out, hold out, we're going. And then Dean Wicks, my coach and mate, is on the show. So, Wixie, firstly, thanks for giving us your time on a rainy Friday morning.
Thank you, mate. Good to be here.
And if we didn't have your beautiful wife as your chief technical officer, we might have had a DNS on this one.
Yeah, we're in big trouble. What's second podcast guest from Dolby from my research I've done?
Yeah, mate. Well, you've done some research there. Second from Dolby, putting it on the map.
320 NRL games between the two of us. Not too bad at all, us Dolby boys.
320 games between the boys. I like that one. That's the money shot. But mate, so good to have you on here. It's going to be a good yarn. Obviously, we're going to dive into, I guess, training me for 58 marathons and stuff, because people have questions that they ask me a lot that I probably could have a stab at answering, but I think you're the man for the job for that. But I also want to just help other people who are aspiring to run marathons or looking for guidance to answer some of those questions. But before we do, can we get a bit of a background on Wixie, mate? You've obviously grown up in Dolby, as you mentioned. You've done a lot of endurance sports, and that's sort of your forte now. Led you to that point? Like, what took you or got you interested in that back in the day?
Endurance sports?
Yeah.
Mate, long story short, I guess, probably a pretty normal bloke from the Darling Downs, just like yourself. Love playing footy, grew up playing that. Would have loved to make it as a footy player like most kids growing up in, Dolby, Toowoomba, etc. But just never good enough. Got signed by Burleigh Bears, their cup squad, when I was 19. Had a cup of coffee with the Burleigh Bears. As soon as some Titans boys got cut back from Titans, I was gone. And then, so always, grew up, loved playing sports. And then just a normal sort of late teenager and early 20-year-old kid, probably drinking too many beers and getting up to mischief with the boys. And then I think you hit that point mid to early 20s where you see one group of mates going one way and they're rolling home at 5, 6 a.m. Saturday, Sunday nights. And then I live with one of my best mates still to this day, Jack, his name is. I think you met him before, the bloke I sort of cruise around and do all my marathons with. And he sort of changed his lifestyle and was getting up at 5 in the morning and riding his bike for a couple of hours. So I sort of saw him going one way. I saw the boys going the other way, and I decided to kind of go that way and enjoy an active, healthy lifestyle. Sort of became obsessed with endurance sports, started with triathlon. I've got a pretty addictive personality, which I think is like pretty common for, people that can get good at things, which is a good thing, but can also be a bad thing. So, sprint triathlons, which take an hour, turned into Olympic distance and then half Ironmans. And then, when I first met my wife, now Lauren, I was doing sprint distance triathlon. So she'd only have to wait for me for an hour. And then a year after that, Ironmans, and you're out there all day. So, yeah, that's sort of what made me fall in love with endurance sports. And then I think just the simplicity out of it's the best part. Like, anyone can get good at it because you get out what you put in with the sport. If you're willing to work and work smartly over months and years, you get really fit pretty much. That's what I loved about it. And then just fell in love with running through triathlon just because I guess I excelled in that discipline of the sport more. So that makes you like it a bit better just because if you get good at something, obviously that's rewarding. And just the simplicity of running is what I fall in love with. Like, it doesn't matter if you're just on holidays or whatever, you've got a pair of shoes, you can get in a training session, which is the best part when triathlon's a bit of a pain in the ass in terms you need your bike and the swim pool, etc. So, yeah, fell in love with running through triathlon, particularly long distance stuff. So now I'm just out running marathons, having fun doing that, and then coaching a lot of people along the way.
That's a cool progression. What do you feel? An interesting one for me is like when you hit that fork in the road and some mates were going some way, one direction, and obviously Jack, as you mentioned, was sort of going down a different direction. What was it that made you gravitate more to the early mornings and putting in the work there as opposed to rolling in at the early morning?
Tough one to say. Like, when there's a group of friends too, and I might have been early 20s at the time, and some of the older boys in the group are probably, 30, early 30s, and there's nothing wrong with what they were doing, but I would look at them in a way and be like, I don't really want to be doing this 10 years from now when I'm 32. I want something different in my life. And I think really at the time you feel guilty for that, right? You're like, he's a good bloke, he's a great mate, and there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. And I half felt guilt that I had to pull myself back from, that group of friends that's probably too much drinking, drugs, and partying, and go the other way with the mate that loves getting up and putting on lycra as a 23-year-old and going for a bike ride. Believe it or not, it wasn't cool back then, Lockie. All of a sudden now it's cool to be a runner. Shaving your legs and riding a pushy, particularly from a bloke from Dolby, isn't the coolest thing to do.
I can just see you cutting laps out by the Dolby Devils in with your shaved legs and lycra on. What a sight!
I was fortunate I was on the Gold Coast at this point, so yeah, there would have been no shaving legs or riding in lycra anywhere near Dolby, that's for sure.
I remember I did the Mooloolaba try just like as a team. And I remember the dude who was doing the bike leg, I gave him so much shit for wearing lycra and shaving his legs because I was like, mate, what the fuck are you doing? And now, look, to be fair, I shaved my legs back in the day, or I'd clip them, and I'd probably get back into it just to look a little bit better as I get older,
Yeah, mate. Got a few funny stories about lycra. There's always a part where a mutual friend of ours is a good example, Petey Styling. He got a bike and he got bike riding with me a year or so back to get fit.
Yep.
Pete, for the listeners, he's to paint the picture. He's about as blokey of a bloke as it gets. Concreter. When I shake his hand, I feel like 10% of a man. He's working his ass off in 40-degree heat, and I'm here behind a computer. Real blokey bloke. But I've got him out on doing some training rides on a bike, and he would refuse to wear lycra. Nah, can't do it. Can't pull it off. And I took about 3 rides where the bloke is so sore, everything going on downstairs, because that's why you wear lycra. It's to protect the goods. Yeah. And he had to cave in and finally got the lycra on. He's like, mate, I should have done this ages ago.
Mate, can you send me some photos of that?
Yes, I probably could find some, yes.
Needed to get him some gooch scoop. But just side note on Pete, he's one of the most genuinely great blokes I've ever met. Like, when I used to train him in the gym, there was never a day where he was not happy to be there, and he was just so stoked. If you smash him on a squat or whatever, he's still smiling, and you're like, "How you doing, Pete?" He's like, "Man, I'm happy." I was like, "I've never ever trained anyone who's been happy the whole time." Yeah. And we did this 12-hour walk a few years back overnight.
Tell me about it. His ankles are no good either.
Yeah, obviously his ankles are busted, and the poor bastard is same thing. Like, I was like, mate, you don't need to do this. Like, you don't have anything to prove. You go home. He's like, nah, I'm just going to keep going. Just kept toddling along. I was like, once again, he's just grateful to be there and be able to do things. So I learned a lot from him just in his outlook on life.
Yeah, me too. Real mentor of mine, just the way he treats people, how successful he is, and his beautiful family. He's a good guy and a good sort of role model to look up to, that's for sure.
But maybe he should take a few things out of your book and when you get him on the bike so he doesn't have the sore nether region there.
Should have trusted me earlier, mate. It would have been a lot smoother transition for him.
Yeah. But it's really, I find it admirable that you were able to do that at a young age. I think I had that fork in the road moment, but I didn't go the right way. Like, I think deep down I wanted to pursue the health stuff and wanted to do that, but I just, to your point, like, it is hard to distance yourself from mates, and it's nothing against them. It's just like what you're interested in and where you see yourself going. So it took me a couple of years to get back around to that.
Yeah.
Before I started going, look, this is what I actually genuinely enjoy, and this is what I prioritize. This is how I want to be. So that's what I'm going to do. And I probably did that maybe not too long after, like 25, so not that much older, but I wish I definitely did it a lot earlier.
Yeah, but I think you need to make those mistakes to get to that point too, right? Like, how good of a feeling is it when you get out on a Sunday morning for your long run and you feel $1 million, you're ready to rock, and you see that person just get out of the cab from a on the town, and I just think, oh, I'm so glad I'm not you. Don't get me wrong, doing it every now and again, I'm still on board for that. You got to celebrate your wins and have a good time as well. But, it's so easy to fall into the trap of doing that every weekend. And then your constant state of health is just tired all week, drunk weekends, tired all week. And that's just, for me, wasn't the most appealing way to live through your 30s, 40s and the rest of your life.
Definitely. And especially like as a husband, and you got goals and ambitions, and as a coach, like, you need to, there are some, and if you look at like not partying as a sacrifice, and that's a sacrifice that needs to be paid for that. But when you obviously were moving into the marathons and stuff, like, did you have any big goals or ambitions that you wanted to achieve with that? Or do you still have big goals and ambitions that you want to achieve there? Like, whether it's a sub, I don't know, 2 hour 45, or what are you chasing?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and to paint the picture, like I'm not a good athlete by any means. I've kind of just ripped in over the years and done enough work that I've kind of got decent at something. And my first proper marathon I did, so I'd only ever run a marathon off the bike at an Ironman. So I think that set me up nicely. That not that ever jumping on a marathon start line's easy. It's still daunting, but you're like, shit, I don't have to ride 180k bike before this. This is the dream,
Beautiful.
and I'm done by 9 for a coffee and brekkie with the missus, and I can be at the pub by 12 for a beer. This is where it's at. Yeah, first one I wanted to run a sub 3 on my first attempt, 20 Coast Marathon, and I'm like, I had no idea if I'd be able to do it, and just went out at 4:15s as a sub 3 just to see when the wheels would fall off, and they didn't fall off, which was good. I think I ran a 2:58 that day. Last year, I ran my PB at Noosa Marathon. I ran a 2:50, so 4 minute per
Jesus.
K, or 3:59s, 4 minute per K, right along that line. And then this year, my goal was sub 2:45, and I herniated a disc in my back 10 days before Gold Coast Marathon. So that got sidetracked a bit, but next year I'll get back at it doing Ballarat Marathon, and yeah, anything around that 2 hour 45 would be good. Beautiful thing about endurance sports, it's a bit of an old man's game too, mate. Like, what are you? You're a year younger than me, like you're 33.
Yeah, 33. I look
34.
old as all buggery though. Like the greys are everywhere.
We're babies, it's probably like 40 years old, peak endurance age. Just yeah, see what I can do in my body over the next 5 years. Set myself the goal, see how quick I can get. You know, whether that gets down the 2:30s or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just my satisfaction and my goals, and pushing yourself's good fun. So
I got two questions. So first one, what does it feel like holding 4 minute Ks for that, or 4:15 for an entire marathon? Like, for context for people, if you're a bit of a runner or you're trying to understand what this could possibly feel like. And obviously fitness, you've trained for this, but even just for me thinking about running 4:15s for 42 kilometers, it sounds like hell on earth. Like, definitely something I'd love to work towards. But what does that feel like mentally, knowing that most people can't even hold that pace for a kilometer or two, and you're doing that 42 times over?
yeah,
And then the second question that probably could lead into it is the injury. Like, a lot of people worry about doing any kind of exercise because of injury. It might take them time off work or whatever. So from your, I guess, experience with the injury that you had, what are you going to change in your programming, and what do you feel maybe led to that as well? So if we could go to the first one, what's it like running that pace, and then hit the injury talk after that?
yeah. Well, when you stand on the marathon line, you're prepared for it, right? You got to put in the work to do that. So you know, when I ran my PB last year at Noosa, me and my mate Jack, our biggest session we did was 6 by 5K at 4 minute pace, so 30K worth of intervals at that pace. And that was our biggest workout, say 3 weeks before, on tired legs in a marathon build. So it's probably those sessions that give you the confidence, knowing that that day in training, when you've probably got 100K in your legs for the week, you can hold it for 30K. It's more of a mental thing. You're like, well, when I'm staying on the start line 3 weeks from now, I'm fresh. I've got my fast shoes on. I've got all the carbs on board. I'll be able to do this. So yeah, marathon pace is a tricky one. It's nearly like the first 20K should feel easy. You're like it's hard, but like if you're not over the top, and then they always say the race starts at about 30K, which is the truth, and then at 30K you start hurting, and you're just like, and it's half mental at that point too. Like that even the best in the world, I guarantee, like their head's telling them to quit the whole time. It's kind of just fighting that voice in your head saying, slow down a little bit, mate. No one's going to care if you run 1 minute slower, and you're constantly like trying to push that to the side and fight it, which is half the battle. And that's, I think that's something you learn just putting yourself in the fire and doing races and just getting better at dealing with those negative thoughts. Marathon's a roller coaster too, because you might feel absolutely shit at 30K, and by 35 you're feeling good again, and by 40 on death's door. So it's just riding the peaks and valleys and just hanging in there. But yeah, every race you do, there's not one that goes past. I think, like, why the hell am I doing this? Like, this is grim. And then 2 hours after, you're just like, that was the best. When's the
What's
next
the
one?
next one?
Let's go again. So yeah, I guess that's what it feels like. It sucks, but it's manageable. Really, it's only that last half an hour that really hurts. And in terms of training and avoiding injury, it's just being smart with your progression in the sport. Like, there would have been years where I was running 50K bumped up to 70K to 80 to 100. It doesn't happen overnight. So you just got to train to where you're at ability wise in that build and not overreach that. And if you're smart about your training and you progress slowly over years, then your body can do some pretty cool shit, and it will get stronger and adapt, and you won't break down. It's just when you don't train as smart, that's when the issues sort of happen.
That's one thing that I've learned a lot from you, and I'm glad you didn't pull my head in, but you sort of did in a nice way when I first reached out to you. Obviously, one of the reasons why I approached you to see if you would be able to train me was I've followed your Strava and stuff for years, like a weird little stalker in a way, and I've just always seen different like variations in your training and the speeds that you're running, but then also like your slower runs. And I always see like heart rate, and I'm into all the data, and it's been so consistent that I'm like, this guy, one is like, I also love how you live your lifestyle. Like we are talking about it before with your wife, like you got a very family orientated lifestyle. You still enjoy a beer. So it's not like you're going to make me sacrifice things that are important to me to do that. And you sort of relate to a lot of the stuff, but then you've also got the runs on the board. I know you said you're not talented from the data that I see of you. I think you're very talented in the speeds that you're running and all of that. And it's like what I aspire to do. And then I was like, right, I'm going to hit you up because I can't program for myself. As you obviously found out, I was just trying to hammer it every session. And
Yeah,
I've improved more in the last 7 or 8 weeks now with you than I had in 2 years of like, obviously I've been running for a long while, but like literally my speeds have increased and my heart rate's lowered, which I'd been trying to do, but I just felt like I had to do more hard sessions than I did easy sessions. And now
yeah,
at the moment, the way you're programming it, every time I see my heart rate like hit this new low zone or my speed improve, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like,
yeah.
this is
It's cool.
impressive stuff.
And you probably don't even realize how fit you're getting. Like, maybe week by week you won't realize it. I could see how fit you're getting. But when it's your body and you're inside, you don't feel like you're getting that much better. And then all of a sudden you look back from when we started together 2 months, you're like, holy shit, it happened quick, even though I didn't feel that way.
Yeah. And that's what's blown my mind. Like, literally, 8 weeks is not a big amount. Like, when I talk to people about working with you, I'm like, yeah, I think we're 7 or 6 weeks and then 8 weeks. And it's not that big a deal. But I'm like, fucking hell. I've like dropped some or gained some pace and drop the heart rate, so my efficiency is improving. And it's what everyone who's wanting to get better at their running is trying to do, but we definitely feel you have to work harder every day. And it's not that I'm not working hard in the programming that you're
Yeah.
doing, but it's just like a lot of the time it's time on legs and getting good at that. So can we, I guess, dive into a little bit around the training block that we've just completed and what we were trying to achieve and everything like that, just so people could understand? Because there's definitely, in the beginning I was like, I don't think I'm doing enough hard running, but I trusted you because you've got the runs on the board, and now I'm like, I listen to anything that you said.
Yeah.
Even like food, dude, you're like educating me around eating,
Yeah.
which has been game changing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, food is so big. They call it, well, in triathlon, they call it the fourth discipline because, like, if you don't have enough calories, I guess, to train and live, then you're just not going to get better. Like, food's so important. Like, and you probably know now, if you go on a morning run, you can feel if you didn't eat enough the day before. And the days you
100%.
do, you feel so much better. So, I would argue I'd always rather overeat a little bit and feel good the next day to train for performance as opposed to undereat. Maybe like if I ever get told by my wife my belly's got a little bit bigger, I'm pumped because normally like, if I can keep a little bit on me, because otherwise you just you break down and you get so
Yep.
little. So, yeah, food is so big when it comes to endurance sports, and people just don't realize how much they have to eat. Like it's one of the best parts about endurance sports because when I sit down for dinner, I eat so much food, but it's also like sometimes like, oh, that's
I don't want
enough.
to eat anymore. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of your block, mate, I knew I was excited to train you because like you've got wheels. I knew like you can run fast. Like you've got a good athletic ability, so you've got the potential there. And I'd looked at what the training you're doing, and I just knew like because you hadn't trained properly like endurance athlete before, you were going to get better really quickly. And a lot of coaching in the endurance aspect is actually pulling people back, like especially maybe people like yourself coming from a bit of a CrossFit background. Like those workouts are if you're not leaving the room spewing 10 times, then you feel like, what have I done? When endurance is the
Yep.
opposite. Like if I ever give you a workout that you can't complete, that's bad coaching by me because I want to give you just enough training every day that you get a stimulus that your body can adapt from, but not too much so the next day you can back it up and train again. So nearly like on an interval session, for example, I'm far better off giving you 2 reps less and you feeling a little bit tired but good, and the next day you can get out for your run. It'd be easy for me to hem you till you can't walk, but then if you can't run for 3 days after, was that better than doing a bit less and then be able to back it up? That's the answer is whoever does the most consistently gets better. So like intensity control is the biggest piece of the puzzle in terms of training. And that's probably the biggest mistake that a lot of people getting into running make, is that they just run hard all the time. They never run easy, so they're never really training, like developing aerobically, but then they're never running hard enough to actually get faster. They kind of pick that middle ground where it feels like, maybe your heart rate's at 160, you've had a decent workout, like you feel like you've done something, but you're never like going easy or you're never going hard enough to get better because you're always tired, because you're always in that sort of middle zone, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
and I guess, going back to your training, the way, I think when we started together, I think the words I used to you, which I know you didn't like, and I didn't mean to offend you, was
No, it was fine.
you're starting to do some crazy shit already. Like, I think, did you do a back-to-back marathon?
Yeah, I did back-to-back marathons and like 3 halves and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you're already doing some crazy stuff. And I remember, like, I've been running for a lot longer than you, and I'd look at that and I'd be like, there's no chance I'm doing that. That would wipe me for weeks. And I was saying, you were doing that. I think my words were like, we need to earn the right for you to do that first.
That's exactly what you said to me.
Yeah, I know. Because you were, you'd run back-to-back marathons and put together a 110K run week, but then the next 2 weeks you'd only run 20 or 30K. So I look at that from, a whole holistic perspective. I'm like, well, you would have been better off structuring your week so you can run as much volume as possible without doing anything crazy. And instead of doing one big 110K week and then being so cooked you had to run 20 the next 2, what if you ran 90K those 3 run weeks? All of a sudden you banked an extra, 150 kilometers, and you're in the long run, you're far fitter than that. And it also stressed me out, you doing that stuff this early on, that you were at the point when I started with you 4 months from the challenge that you can't afford to get injured now, mate. Like if you'd done a stressy doing back-to-back marathons before I started coaching you and you were on the sideline for 10 weeks, like that would have been hard for you then to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you run literally around the world 10 weeks from now and you've had your leg in a boot, so that was, I'm glad I got you when I did, because I would have hated for you to got hurt and your body not even be able to get there. So yeah, I guess what we did with you, Locke, is I looked at your week and I'm like, I want to structure this bloke's week. Like I know he can run fast. I know he's a hard worker. So I want to structure his week so he can run as much volume as possible and handle the load and back it up week after week after week after week. So I think when we started together, the month prior, you were averaging about 55 kilometers a week, which I think I said to you, like that's probably bare minimum to do a marathon in general. I'm like, mate, this is a big goal. We need to get you doing some big boy Ks here. And so, we just structured your week that, like, what's your 3 biggest things you're going to do in a week? We've got your long run, which is probably the most important for you, given you're running marathons. We're going to give you 1 interval session a week. And although, like, you could just jog around all week for the goal you're doing, but you get really good bang for buck out of a session. As long as we're smart about it, not overdo it, it's going to get you fitter really quickly. And then mentally for you, like, you love a session. Like, you'll always message me after, but mate, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
So even like the psychological part of that was really good for you, because to have a session in the middle of the week that you look forward to, that's worth its weight in gold. Because if you were just jogging for 7 days straight, you get bored of that pretty quickly and you wouldn't enjoy this process. So we had your long run, your session, and then we had your medium long run. So they're your 3 most demanding sessions we've got over your week. So how can we do that so you go into each session feeling your best and performing and being able to absorb the training? So for us, that was a medium long run on a Monday. Tuesday was pretty chilled. Wednesday a session. Thursday, Friday pretty chilled. Saturday huge long run. Sunday off. So you get back to Monday feeling good again. So I guess we just structured your week that there was big days, there was easy days, which are just as important as the big days, because on those easy days, if you go too hard on that, you're going to cook yourself for the next day. So structured your week in a way that you could handle running more volume consistently that you've ever done before. And in doing that, we built you up from 70 to 80 to 90 to 100 to up to 110 Ks a week that last week there. And you'd feel each week ready to rock for the next one. Like, I'd be worried if you weren't tired, because you're running a lot, you should feel tired, but you weren't, you weren't injured. and you're ready to attack the next week. So yeah, that's how we broke it down. Like it would have been easy for me just to start throwing 110k run weeks at you and just say, here you go, mate. Let's just
Good
see
luck.
that. Yeah, good luck. But the wheels could fall off pretty quickly, and that would have stressed me because that's on me then. So it was getting you to a point that you're running big volume, but safely and smartly. And yeah, a big part of that was, I guess, building that up slowly and just intensity control.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoyed when you said to me, like, you've got to earn the right. I always say that to people that I coach in the gym and
I did not
things
know
like
that.
that.
I hear
Yeah,
that by accident, mate. I did not know that.
no, but it's great because I say it to people, but as soon as you said that, it sort of slapped me out of this like romanticized idea of just fucking crushing big runs or whatever world I was living in. And I was like, that's probably true. And it also reminded me, is exactly why I reached out to you, because even though I understand programming for not marathons, but like fitness, I was like, I'll be able to do this myself. And just being like, okay, well, if I really want to do this properly, I need someone who, one, is going to call me on my shit. Two, if I, you know, get you, like, if we work together, I have to trust you. I can't just like, you know, do dodgies on the side and end up injured. It's like, I got to trust the process. And then three, the approach around just building slowly for me was like, okay, makes like I understand that now that I've snapped out of this like
Yeah,
fairyland place. And
yeah,
then obviously the results have come off the back of that. And I think that's a really important people for who are listening is the purpose of getting a coach. One, it just means you don't have to think about the programming. You just do the programming, which I love because I got a lot of other things going on. Two, it's like you need to be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear all the time to get the best results. And the other thing that I've really enjoyed about working with you, Dean, is that we talk pretty much every day, which is awesome. Like be on my data or my Whoop or Strava or wherever stuff's going, like
I pest the
instantly.
people I coach, mate.
Dude,
I pest them.
there was one that even Amy was like, "Fuck, you're all in strife here." We just got off a plane in LA or something, and it was like 7 p.m. at night. And you text me. This was probably our second week working together, and you're like, "Mate, haven't done your run yet." And I was like, "One, I'm tracking my time zones, bro, but I've just got off a plane." And because you sent me that, I got off the plane at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. at night, like late as, and I went for a run. And because it's where we were was not like ideal, I was just like running laps of this small block to get the run done. And for me, I was like, okay, this is perfect because this is the accountability that I need to make
Yeah,
sure that I'm, prepped, because the hard work's now. Like really, the run's a celebration, and like obviously it's going to be fucking hard, but like that's the celebration of what we're doing now.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I was honestly never worried about you with ever doing a run. To be honest, I could tell pretty quickly you got the same mindset as me. That like I've had coaches before, and if that runs on that bit of paper, there is zero chance I'm missing it. Zero chance.
Mm,
It would drive me so crazy to let someone down, and that is a good thing 95% of the times. But 5% it's not, because also want to know if you're feeling shit and I need to pull you back the next day. So if I ever saw you didn't have a run done, I'm not thinking Lockie's been lazy, not doing it. I'm thinking, shit, is he sick or is he injured? So I would have been stressed. Like, did I push him too hard 2 days before any session? He can't run today and he's not telling me. So yeah, I think that's more why. Because I know you think like me, and even little things like I would message you after every long run just to see how you're feeling. But I know you wouldn't tell me if you're smashed up, and then I'd see on your
yeah.
Insta stories that you say your ankles are sore, and I'd be like, his ankle was hurting. So I'd get on there and just like put some feelers out, like, mate, how you feeling? No niggles. So that's just me making sure that your body's in a good place,
Yeah.
because it's good to always want to get the work done. But like I've made the mistake before, you don't just have to get done what's on paper. If you got something, if you're not feeling good, you can pull things back for a few days, because in the long run, that's going to be what's good for you.
Yeah. Now my ankles have given me grief for about 5 years, and
Yeah. Okay.
it's as soon as they warm up, or as soon as I get, like, I've got a scraper which I scrape
Yeah.
almost every day, and as soon as I've done that, they're good. But if I'm, for whatever, running late on time for whatever reason, and I'll just start running, the first kilometer or two is not ideal, but then it settles in and
Yeah.
it's good to go. So
That's probably one of the biggest challenges with marathon training, long distance endurance sports in general, because it's deciphering between being sore and being injured. Because in a marathon build, my legs never feel good ever. Like you should feel tired, and people I coach freak out like, oh, don't know if I can do this. I'm a bit tired, and I'm like, well, you're tired or you're injured, because you should feel tired. You're training for a marathon, But then you also need to know too where it's tipped over that point and there's something that needs to be addressed. So it's always trying to get that fine line going, and that's where it's important for an athlete and a coach to communicate, so you actually know how that person's feeling.
And that's another thing I wrote down here to touch on is you've been really adamant on heart rates.
Yeah,
Like I think a lot of people, myself included, underutilized heart rate training
yeah,
because it does allow you to sort of accommodate for fatigue and things like that. So if I'm feeling cooked, I just still sit in those zones. So my speed may drop off a little bit, but I'm still, I guess, essentially the same work ethic if you're taking into account though the fatigue.
yeah, definitely. Heart rate, like, it's just really useful for intensity control, and it's really good for probably newer athletes. You're at the point now where, like, I'd be confident with you not to look at it as much, or like even for me now, I know I can just go out and run at 5 minute K pace, and my heart rate's going to be under 140, so I'm all good. And I look back on it after, but I don't really need to. But it's more intensity control because, like, a new athlete, you might give them a run, an easy run, and their heart rate's 170 the whole time. They think they're going easy, but I've got proof that it wasn't. It was really hard. And it's important in places like Brisbane, for example, because it's the worst place in the world to be a runner. 25-degree, 99% humidity on your runs of a morning.
Yep.
And you got to factor that in. That just makes it harder. So for you, I'm just like, if it's 30 degrees, mate, just slow down. Who cares? Like, no one cares about your Strava time really, apart from you. Like, just back it off. Your heart rate might be 15 beats higher for the same pace as yesterday because it's 10 degrees hotter. So it's just a good way of controlling intensity and making sure someone is not overdoing it. And then it's also a good data point for me to, like, look. I can look back through your training history and be like, look at this run 4 weeks apart, exact same pace. Your heart rate's 15 beats lower. I've got clear
Mm.
data that you're absorbing the training well and getting a lot fitter. So it's just a good metric to have. The pros use heart rate, and then lactate's really big in the endurance space. Heart rate's just a lot more easy, I guess, more practical. I'm not going to get you to rip out a lactate monitor and put drip blood on it like the pros do, but they generally use a mixture between the two. And then RPE is obviously really important too. As I've said to you, like, mate, if you're feeling tired, just back pace off. On the days you're feeling good, you've got a license to pick it up a bit, but you just got to be smart about that.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it, but once again, for people listening, like if you're considering whether you're doing your first marathon or half, or even if you're a more experienced runner, like the benefit of having a coach for me, and I have coaches in business and in other areas of my life as well, so it just makes sense to have it in an important area, especially because the one thing I really love as well, just not having to think about it. I literally open the app,
Yeah.
have a bit of a
Nice.
chin wag to you, and just do what it says. Like, just it's that easy, and then I can focus my decision making on other things in
Yeah.
life as well, which is
Yeah.
a game changer.
For sure, mate. And it's even good for me as a coach to have a coach too, because I'm an overthinker and I'll start thinking about, I want to do more. And it's nice just to have someone stepping back from the outside, not emotionally in it, and be like, mate, that was something dumb to do. Just do this and just, yeah, put trust in someone. So yeah, agreed, mate.
Even the other thing I wanted to touch on was like fueling while you're running. We obviously
Yeah.
you mentioned, and one of the other passes that you gave me was like a pizza the night before the long run. I've been smoking pizzas like left, right,
Yeah.
and center. A
But you
bit of
freaked
garlic
out when I
bread.
first said that to you. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't eat bad food. It's going to cause my body inflammation.
Yep.
Which is, trust me, eat good food as much as you can, but sometimes when you've got a 40K run the next day and you're going to burn 3,000 calories, it's going to be fucking hard to eat that with chicken and salad and feel good the next day. You just need to smash a pizza. And I would argue, from a health perspective, you'd be far better off eating that pizza and creating your body a little bit of inflammation, but going into your run the next day with all those calories stored that you can use, as opposed to going in underfueled and killing yourself. So it's like, and even if, like, you're eating those bad meals, 95% of the time you're still eating the right things. But sometimes you need to get that calorie dense, quick food, and generally that's around workouts too. Before and after workouts, where your body just needs calories. So yeah, it's nutrition is so important when it comes to endurance sports.
And just even like the gels, and I know you've sort of said for me it's like 60 grams of carbs an hour if it's a bit hotter, or a bit more intense session up to
Yeah,
90 grams.
yeah,
And it's literally day and night since I've been doing that. Like, I've
yeah,
just bought the gels that feel good for my guts, but the difference in output and how I feel in it, and that obviously then makes it easier mentally to to get the session done. Whereas before, I literally run multiple marathons with no nutrition before.
When you first told me that, mate, I'm like, I nearly fell off my chair. I was kind of happy in a way because I knew what a difference a simple thing will make as you just fueling your runs. I'm like, that's going to make, like how much percent difference would it be? Like, 20, 30% performance bump. Just, it sounds
Easy.
silly now that you're doing it, but
Easy. Dude, even shoes, like you recommending me getting some shoes with carbon
yeah,
plates or
some super
whatever they.
trainers. Do you feel,
Yeah,
that was the difference, wasn't it?
dude, way easy. You feel like I felt like I was running at 5:45 pace, like super slow, but then I'm sitting
Yeah.
around 5:07, and you're like, okay, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, mate. The biggest legend, you'll love this. The biggest legend in Australian running, this bloke called Steve Moneghetti. So have you heard of Brett Robinson before?
I have, yeah.
So
He's
Brett,
got the Ultraman, right? Is he the?
no, he's Australia's best marathon runner. So he's
Okay.
from Melbourne. He's got the Australian record for the marathon, which I believe is mid 2 hours and 7 minutes, so 3 minute
Yep.
K pace. And that's these days with $470 Alpha Flies. He's sponsored by Nike.
Yep.
Fueling from Morton, he's probably got a sponsorship for. But the bloke's record, he beat Steve Moneghetti. He might be in his 60s now. Brett beat his record by 20 seconds or something. And this bloke, I think it was like 30 years ago, ripped a 2:07 marathon, pre-super shoes, only had a sip of water on the course.
What the?
Such a legend. So everyone looks at his time like, surely that's like a 2:03 or something.
At least.
Not no food, just ripped a glass of water, whatever shoes they were wearing back then, 40 years ago, and just ripped a 2:07. He's the man.
That is ridiculously fast.
Yeah, so all these sort of involvements in technology now make a huge difference. Like fueling's a big one, and then the shoe technology is so big now. Like studies show shoes can give you like 5 to 7 seconds a K of free speed, depending on how fast you're going. Or even if you were to run at the same pace, but you had a good pair of shoes on, you're working less hard to hold that same pace. You're burning less energy, so that's an advantage. And then it beats up your legs. When you've got a good pair of shoes on, your legs are more protected, and it beats up your legs less. So it's nearly a cheat code now. The Kenyans can. Before, say they could run 200K a week, maybe now their bodies can handle running 250Ks a week because they've got these shoes that help them run more, and then that's an extra 5% as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
It's crazy, and all of these things I wouldn't have been looking at had you not.
Yeah, and it's even common with people I coach, like they don't think about changing their shoes. So often someone will get a niggle, and I'll look at their training and be like, they haven't progressed or done anything differently, and I'll shoot them a message, say, hey, when was the last time you got a new pair of shoes? And they'll be like, 2 years ago. And you're like, oh, they wouldn't even think of that, and they get themselves a new pair of shoes that support that foot better, and they feel right as Ray again. So that's something like for you through this challenge, like, you're going to have to definitely think about, especially now that you're running over 100K every week. Like you burn through shoes quickly. Like, if they're meant to last 500K, that's a new pair of shoes for you every 4 weeks now, every 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah,
it's not fun.
Yeah,
not fun
you
at
need to
all.
get this shoe sponsor though. Asics,
Yes,
get him some Super Blast, please.
Give me them. Yeah, that's. But what was I going to say next? Yeah, what do you feel like based on obviously my programming and even just the conversations we've had? Are there any things that you feel I haven't considered well, or probably should be looking at a bit more in the lead up to doing this challenge?
We're talking pre you actually doing the event.
Yeah,
I think the next step for you would be like we're going to have to increase it in volume a little bit more and see how you handle that. Like, we'll get you up to 120, 130. And maybe if we get to that, it's too much. We have to pull you back, but we're going to pick it up a bit. But I think we're going to have to, without you sort of knowing it, I wanted to get you in the mindset of introducing some doubles in your training. So if you're running in the morning, I'm like, mate, can you get on the bike of an afternoon? And that is just that's just an easy way to bank more aerobic stimulus and training without beating your body up. But now we're at the point, it would actually be safer for me as a coach to see if you're open to doing a few double run days. And although it's an extra run or two a week, you could argue it's safer maybe. For example, right now we're doing 110Ks a week. For me to increase your volume, we're not going to increase your long run any longer. Your last long run, you ripped a marathon pretty much. I don't want to really increase your medium long run from 2 hours because that's going to beat you up so much. So instead of making all your runs so long and they're getting really demanding for you, I could argue as a coach, you might be better off doing 60 minutes of a morning and 30 minutes of an afternoon. And that 90 minutes broken up is going to be a lot less of a stress on your body from a physiological perspective, but
Yep.
you're building more Ks in the legs. So I think that will probably be the next step to see if you're open to, add in one, maybe double run day a week and then build it up to two if your body can absorb that. So that'll probably be the next step. Because even if we could just chuck an extra, 2 half-an-hour runs at the end of a training day, that's an extra 12K a week, and it's nothing really. So that will probably be our next thing we look at.
Interesting. I'm
What are you
looking
thinking?
forward to it.
You don't look pumped to get out the door for a second run in the day, do you?
No, but I'll do it, but it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's either that or continuing to extend the runs you're doing now when you're already doing, pretty much a three. Last week you did a 3 hour run, hour 45 run, an hour 15 run.
Mm.
Starting to progress those a bit, and you're doing like 3 big runs a week. It's a lot. It's a lot. When if you even on your recovery day, if you done two, say if you went out for 2 8K easy runs on your recovery day, that's a light day because neither of them are big things to do, but you'll bank 16Ks for that day, which is a lot of running. So it's something like that. We'll have a combo about it though.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of doing doubles just because it's an inconvenience, and I think I'm going to be there's going to be so many things that go wrong. I got a call from our motorhome company yesterday afternoon being like, just needed to confirm that that your shower's not going to work, your toilet's not going to work, and the amenities of the motorhome aren't going to work because it's winter, everything will freeze over, you're in sub-zero. And I was like, nice. That would have been, I should have thought of that. I didn't think
Yeah,
about that. But the
yeah,
whole reason why we got a motorhome was
yeah,
so you could have a fucking motorhome, not have to get accommodation. So now I've got to get caravan parks booked and stuff. So there's going to be things like that keep popping up that inconvenience the whole experience. So I think that's going to be a good way to train for that as well.
How are you feeling about all the logistic and planning side of that? Because we actually haven't even spoke about that, right? We'd speak about your training and probably in general more life in general, me and you, but because that stuff fascinates me too. Like I think that's such a big piece of the puzzle. Have you got a
Yeah,
physio?
it's the most stressful part.
Are you going to have a physio on speed dial or a health professional? Because I think that could be good.
Yes. So to come, I've got to get my heart checked. Like I want to have I'm getting my bloods done. I'm getting my heart tested just to do it before and after. And then Kathleen, my sister-in-law, she's a physio, so she does physio regularly. But then when we're over there, LSKD and a few other people are helping me get some people that will give me a tune-up sort of every couple of days. I'm feeling like when my body's going to be that. I remember when I rode 30 marathons in a row, my body was pretty tired that it didn't enjoy the heavy treatment. It was more like light rubs were beneficial.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go in feeling good with that. But the most stressful part about the whole thing, like you make the programming super easy for me, which is awesome. We've been fortunate to get some great sponsors, and now it's just the PR side of things and obviously deliverables that I've got for those. And obviously we've now locked in the route. So, we had it locked in and then one of our flights got cancelled from Hawaii, which meant we had to reroute the whole freaking thing within like a 6 hour period. So we got that done. And then it's now just knowing that if anything goes wrong, like we miss a day or something, I'm either going to have to do a double to get back on track because we've got 15 grand worth of flights booked
Yeah.
that I can't obviously miss. So there's like a lot of pressure
Yeah.
that I'm thinking about because I've got people invested in it and I've put a heap of cash into it. But that is part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky Liam,
Excitement.
my brother-in-law, he's good at logistics and all of that. So he'll, once he gets back from Melbourne, he'll take over all of that.
Yeah, cool. And food, like you don't want to rely on gas station, whatever they sell in America. Like, are you going to have,
Warm,
what's your plan
not
there?
not Walmart, Costco. Yeah, so I've got an idea of what we're gonna eat. I should probably send that to you. You probably understand it better. But one thing that you've been on me about is eating. And prior to training with you, I was eating probably. I wasn't tracking too much, but just based off what I knew I eat, I was eating around 2,000 calories a day. So I
Oh,
definitely wasn't eating enough.
yeah,
At the moment, I'm doing about 3,700, which feels like I'm eating all day, and I'm still
yeah.
trying to build that up a bit more.
Have you lost weight though, or you've managed to keep it on?
I'm very skinny, man. But I'm still sitting around 83 kilos.
which is still big for an endurance athlete, that though, Lock, which is it's only important because you're, as a bigger body, your body produces more heat, it takes more
Yep.
calories to function, as you know.
Yep.
Like myself, I'm 87 kilos because I'm so bloody tall. So it's you got to actually take in a lot more food because you're so much bigger than the standard 60-kilo marathon runner.
Wouldn't it be good to be 60 kilos and run a mara?
It'd feel nice, wouldn't it? But I'm just like, I want to be able to rip a marathon, but also, hopefully bench press more than me misses still. It'd be good to get that fine line, which I probably don't. I hope she doesn't listen to this. I could be in trouble.
Yeah, I'm sure she will listen to that, mate, for sure. But no, food wise, yeah, we'll have that sorted, and the crew's going to be making sure that while I'm running, they're doing Costco trips because depending on the size of the van, like the van's a decent size, but we're going up to Seattle 3 days earlier so we can make sure it's all set up and ready
Yeah.
to rumble.
Yeah.
So and then I've got SUPs, I've got like leg sleeves, whether they work or not, like they'll just be good to flush the legs after each run.
Yeah. Wonder if you get yourself a pair of Normatex just to kick the feet
Oh,
up.
I got them, man.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Because even
Yeah.
how much does it help? I don't know the answer. But even if mentally you're telling yourself it helps, that can be a benefit. Or even like I like them because it just forces me to sit down on my ass for an hour and eat food.
Literally.
Like even that might be the benefit of it. But
That's literally what I do is like when I'm having dinner or whatever, I'll just whack them on and slowly rip
yeah,
through some food. So
nice,
yeah, I think
exciting,
aside from
mate.
that, yeah, it's all
Very exciting.
all come together. So now, yeah, it's just injury free until
Yeah,
we head off in 4 or 5 weeks, and then I'm in Mexico, and then kick it off.
yeah, very good.
Yeah, it'll be an adjustment as well, getting back into that cold weather. Coming from
Yeah,
here, I think it's personally feel it's going to be nicer running in the cold.
100. You're doing a lot of your training block in Brisbane. Like for people listening out there that haven't been in Brisbane before, it's got to be the worst place to be a runner. Like like how sad it is when you got a long run on a Sunday. You check the weather app. You're like it's gonna be 26 by 6 a.m. So then you're like, what's the weather at 4? And it might be 23, but it's 99% humidity. It's like, oh, this is grim.
Literally,
This is
that's what
grim.
I started at 4:30 last week, and I was cooking. Like, yeah,
It's not
it's not
good.
ideal.
But then, like, yeah, once you get to a cooler climate, having all that both mentally and physically will be a huge asset. Like, ideal marathon conditions, they say, is 3 to 8 degrees. So, my next marathon in Ballarat can get to 8 degrees in April, which would be perfect. But the benefit would be me, I'll be training through a Queensland summer, and then cruise on down to Melbourne for an 8 degree race. And then that should feel, a huge difference,
Yeah, and you're aiming for a sub 2:45 then
Yeah, two four
2:45.
five would be good. That'd be about 3:55s. Which I think like when I ran my 250, I I was in good nick, but like this year before I got injured, I put in so much better training. I was so much fitter, and marathon is just a cruel game because you've got to have like things fall in place. You've got to feel good, not get injured, have good weather
Yep.
on the day, not be sick. I DNF'd at Noosa this year too. I woke up the morning of the race sick as a dog. I'm just like, oh. And then I'm just like, you're just going to tell no one that you're sick. You're going to just get on that start line and just see what happens. 25K and seeing stars, losing my legs. The wheels just fell off and ended up in the medic. That was this year. So I hit a DNF and then got injured before Goldie. So you got to be lucky and, have things go your way and be healthy. And that's all a part of it. When you're pushing the limit too, like you're going to get sick and you're going to pick up little niggles. There's just no way around it. It's just doing your best to train smartly that you minimize that stuff and be smart when it happens so you can get on top of it really quickly and not just ignore it.
Yeah, 100%. For people who are looking for coaching, I'll obviously, for everyone listening, in the show notes, I'll link your Instagram and whatnot, and people can reach out to you there. But what does it look like, I guess, the process with working with you? Because I know you always have, like, you only work with X amount of people at a time.
Yeah.
But if people are wanting some coaching, what
Yeah.
does that look like?
Mate, yeah, so definitely looking for more athletes. Coaching is my passion. I love it. I'm both a nutritionist and a run coach.
Which is the
running
double
boom,
winner.
the running boom's so big now. What's that, mate?
I said it's one of the best things about you, as well as your nutritionist as well.
Yeah, which is good. And I thought it would always be more nutrition, but because the running burn, how big running is at the moment, it's just fallen in my lap that I've got a lot more run clients than nutrition, but they do go hand in hand too. So you kind of get the best of both worlds on that. But yeah, if anyone wants to a run coach, like I've got blokes I coach, boys and girls. I've got, a female athlete I coach trying to get better, running for a High Rocks event. She wants to turn pro on that. I've got this bloody bloke running 58 marathons in 58 days across the world. I've got a nice kid I'm coaching that wants to run a 20-minute 5K. He's fun to coach. Honestly, people from all walks of life. And I find coaching someone to achieve a goal way more satisfying than me doing it myself. There's nothing better than being at the finish line to a marathon, wherever it is, and seeing someone do what they thought they could never do. And that moment for me is why I coach, and while I hopefully do it for the next 20 years. So yeah, if you ever want to coach, it doesn't matter how big or small. It's never a one size fits all policy, right? It's the way I'd program for you, which is through an apps in Training Peaks, is real specific to what your goals are. There might be, if you're someone that's trying to run a sub 3 hour marathon, I'm going to coach and treat them very differently to someone that wants to complete a marathon. What's their work stress like? Have they got kids? There's so many factors that go into the way I'd program for someone. So yeah, mate, get in touch. I'll drop you my website. My official business is launching. It's called Rise Coaching.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah, I've been coaching for a while now, but I need the missus to give me a kick up the ass to finally, put all the pieces together, which I'm not good at. I don't like talking about myself or taking photos of myself or promoting myself. Yeah, the website, we'll put it up so everyone can see that. Yeah, if anyone wants any coaching, reach out, and we can have a bit of a deeper conversation as to what their goals are, big or small, it doesn't matter. And yeah, I just love helping people, mate.
It's awesome, man. You're definitely the man for the job. Dean Wicks, everyone. And Dean, I've worked with a number of coaches over the years, from CrossFit to rugby to even just for 5K, and when I did the obstacle course racing, and you're hands down the most professional person I've worked with. When I say professional, you deliver with great programming, all around fucking good bloke. You check in regularly for the accountability, and you give me the kick up the arse that I need. But then it's also enjoyable, which for me is this perfect storm that allows me to want to keep doing it. Because I think if any of those are off for me, it's oh, maybe I need more accountability, or maybe I need a bit more fun, or maybe I need a kick up the arse, and you've delivered on that, above and beyond. So for me, it's just honestly the best investment. And I also just enjoy talking shit with you as well. It's good fun.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think that's probably my biggest strength as a coach. You can get coaches at a very high level elite athletes, but it doesn't mean they're the best coach, because they don't understand what it's like as much for a person to, work 9-hour days, have kids. Blokes are coach, they got a wedding on the weekend. Well, I'm going to change their scheduling so they can get their long run done on a Saturday morning, so they can have a beer for their mate's wedding, and kick the feet up on the Sunday. You need to, because I'm a normal person myself, you need to sort of be out, see both sides of the elite outcomes and progressing as an athlete, but also just be a normal person and a good bloke, and realize that, that you got to be flexible with people and get it to fit in with their lifestyle. Because if they don't enjoy doing it and they're not going to stick at it for weeks, months, and years, then they're never going to achieve the goals that they could. So you've got to find that balance between pushing them, but also, making sure they enjoy the process along the way. Because if they don't enjoy it, then, what's the point in even doing this?
Exactly right. Dean, thanks so much for your time, mate. And for everyone listening, if you got value from this episode, make sure you share it on your socials, leave a rating and review. And as always, do something today to be better for tomorrow, and go check out Wixie.
Thanks for having me, mate.